My name is Joel Zimmelstern, and I am a business coach with Action Coach here in Vancouver. Um, Business coaching operation that is global and has been running since 1993. David has kind enough asked me to share a few insights of things that I believe are important. Now, some of you might be thinking, what's this got to do with business coaching? After all, this is a training site, physical training site. But I also want to let you know that part of my background is that I'm also a certified neurolinguistic program trainer, which means I can certify people up to master practitioner level. Plus, I've studied many other techniques and systems around the world to find out what works. For me right now, one of the most troubling things is the state of people's mindset. The most common being, understandably, an issue of fear, an element of abdication to authorities and other parties to find the solution to the problem. There's pointing of fingers, there's denial, and all sorts of other things. And I thought the most empowering thing that I can offer you now is a quick 10-15 minutes on why mindset is so important. So with your consent, I was going to just share a screen, if I can. No, doesn't look like it's possible. So what I wanted to share with you guys is of you being in charge of the bus that's driving you. What do I mean by that? Well, you respond instinctively and without conscious consideration, if you like, to all the various inputs and stimuli that's out there in the world, whether that is from tasting a nice bit of food or the endorphin rush from doing a nice workout, but also from the news, from Facebook, from connections that you have and otherwise. The challenge you have is to how you choose to respond to any given situation. So right now, the dynamics of the world is such that no one knows what tomorrow will bring. No one knows what new headline will be. And if you listen to the news, you will sit at home if you're in isolation. Won't be long before every country is, unfortunately. But you'll sit in isolation, you'll think, well, what can I do about it? You may not be able to change what's going on outside of your door, let alone your own body. But what you can be in charge of is your own thoughts, your actions, and how you choose to respond to it. Now, I did have a slide I was going to show you that unfortunately I don't know how to share on Facebook Live, so I apologize. If you want it, reach out to me and I'll gladly send it. But there's some statistics I'll share with you that at any 1 second, you're going to be bombarded with 126,000 bits of information. And that is information going through in all your senses, your auditory, your visual, kinesthetic, smell, gustatory, olfactory, you name it, you're receiving this information. Some of this you may very consciously be looking to find. Let's say news, you want to find out what's going on, or you want to find out with what's happening with their family member. So by very virtue of the sheer volume of information, you have to go through some form of filtering process or chunking of that. And your brain has a really good system for doing so. It filters things by past experiences, things it asks you to pay attention to. Quick example, right now I'm going to ask you not to think of a blue tree. And I'm certain the first thing that came to mind was a blue tree, and then you had to not think about it. So you're able to direct your brain as to what you should be focusing on. But when you get these 126,000 bits of information, it's overwhelming for the brain. So what it does is it chunks it and groups it into things that are usable for it, into 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information, chunks of information. So the key thing with what happens with most things is to, I'm sorry, I'm just interrupting. Heather, you've just mentioned you love the slide. Are people seeing the slide? If you could just reply yes or no, I'll be very grateful. Because, no, okay, I'm going to assume you're not. So the basis that you're not seeing the slide, I'll just carry on back to where I was. When you're getting all this information, it's coming in, and those inputs that you're receiving will impact both your emotion and how you represent things to the outside world. So right now, it's critical and vital that you are in a position where you choose how you want to respond, because you also get the choice of whether or not you're going to be at the effect of all these things that are happening to you outside of you, out of your control, or you're going to be at the cause side of things. Now, I'm not saying for 1 minute that you caused COVID-19 or any other trauma that's going on in your world, but what I'm saying is that you can choose how you respond to the giving distracted. I'm reading the comments as we go along. You can choose your response to any given situation. And to me, that's the most important thing. So with this situation that's going on, it's really important that you start creating a ritual of focusing on those things that you can celebrate, that elevate your mood, your emotion, and effectively give you greater power in any given situation. One simple practice is that of gratitude. It doesn't have to be of any overwhelming grand gesture, but it can be just for the acknowledgement of a smile that someone gave you when you pass them in the street, if you were still able to pass them. It may be a cup of coffee that you've just enjoyed. It may be just acknowledging you and just appreciating them. But getting into that habit of gratitude is going to start focusing on more things that you should be grateful for. If you go out into the garden and you turn around and say, look, I don't want any weeds, I don't want any weeds, I don't want any weeds, unfortunately, nature's going to take its course. You're going to have weeds. You still have to do your bit. So just saying I'm going to look at things positively isn't sufficient. What you have to do is take ownership of the bus. You need to drive in a direction that you want to head, and you want to take ownership of your responsibility to deal with any given situation appropriately. And that's your choice. That's where your point of power is. You don't have to be in denial. You don't have to react to any given situation, but you can choose your responses before they happen. I really hope that was of value to you. If you want to know more, please reach out to me. I'll be delighted to give you any help, support, or input that I can. My name's Joel, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you.